Hello. So in this video, we're going to talk about D.D. Brooke's play Rehearsal for Murder. Now, this is a stage adaptation of a teleplay by Richard Levinson and William Link. And I read this because I'm going to be in a production of this with Sock Buskin Theatre Company. I'll try and adjust that so you can actually see the logo there. Yeah. I'm going to be playing Ernie, who's the somewhat questionable sort of theater caretaker. I'm very excited for it, coming up end of September in this year, 2024. But let's talk about the play itself. So, it's a murder mystery, as the title might suggest, and it is set in a theater full of theater people. Basically, it's a kind of fun little murder mystery play full of meta theater, done at the level of sort of an informal investigation by Alex Dennison, who is a playwright. He is investigating the death of Monica. I'm going to look up whether these characters have last names. Monica Wells. So a year before the events of the play itself, Alex's new play had premiered, and Monica had starred in it. Afterwards, they got mixed reviews, and shortly after the party that Monica had thrown broke up, Alex goes home. I don't think I mentioned this. They're engaged. That's worth noting. And then shortly after Alex gets home, middle of the night, in the rain, he gets a phone call from Monica saying, "Can you come back over?" The phone call is cut off partway through, and so he leaves his apartment, goes back over. What he finds when he gets there is a bunch of police, because Monica's body has been discovered on the sidewalk outside the apartment, basically. So their working theory is suicide, but Alex does not accept this. He sort of disappears for a year, then he reemerges. He brings together all of the people who were there that night, who were involved in the original production. So we have Loretta, who's the stage manager, who I don't think is actually really that involved. Never mind. Maybe ignore Loretta. Lloyd Andrews. He directed the play. Bella Lamb, who was the producer. Karen Daniels, who was an actress. Also, David Matthews, who is sort of suave, debonair leading man. And Leo Gibbs, who is a slightly aging comedian. Basically, Dennison calls them all together in the theater and has them run through scenes for a new play he's been working on. Basically, it is a play about the murder of Monica, because he believes it was a murder. And he puts each of these people in a scene that is meant to explain their motive, why they might have wanted to kill Monica. They fairly quickly figure out what's going on, and they're not really that pleased with this turn of events, and so they do attempt to leave, but Alex brings out Lieutenant McElroy, who basically stops them leaving, forces them to continue the production as part of an investigation, informal investigation. Alex eventually ends up accusing Lloyd of having murdered Monica in conjunction with his wife Karen, and Alex shoots Lloyd. Dennison shoots Lloyd. At which point, it is actually revealed that, the tables have turned because, we actually found this out a little earlier. Lieutenant McElroy is not actually Lieutenant McElroy. He's actually an actor named Frank. And what we find out is that Frank is actually the killer. Basically, this whole thing has been staged. All of the scenes have been set. Everything has been imagined by Dennison in order to trap Frank into basically admitting his guilt, which works. He confesses, he explains everything, and then the play ends with him being arrested. So it's a fun play, basically, as murder mysteries go. I have 3 issues with it. 1 is a relatively minor issue, 2 are more substantial structural issues. So one problem I have is theater people love writing plays about the theater. We love it. We can't fucking get enough of it. If we can set a play in a theater, we will do it like that. We're obsessed with it. And it is not a great trend. It is not this is meta-theatrical, okay? That's what it is. It's, hey, the world of the theater. Look how theater works based on the experience of someone in the theater. This is meta-theatrical. I love meta-theater as much as the next person who really likes meta-theater, but setting your play in the theater as a theater person is so fucking masturbatory. It really is. It really is like you're just endorsing the worst stereotype of theater people as attention-seeking little idiots, right? Like, oh, look how interesting I am by virtue of being in the theater. You should all pay attention to me. Everything I do is so interesting. Yeah, get over it. So I don't like that aspect of it. There is some slightly better meta-theatrical elements here, like when Lloyd sort of figures out what Alex Dennison is doing and says, I get it, Alex is staging Hamlet. Leo says, you flipping out, Lloyd? Lloyd says, Hamlet, Act 2, Scene 2, the play within a play to catch his father's killer. Quoting, I have heard that guilty creatures sitting at a play have by the very cunning of the scene been struck so to the soul that presently they have proclaimed their malefactions. And then Karen finishes the line, the play's the thing wherein I'll catch the conscience of the king. Yeah, okay. Sure. So it's better. That's better meta-theater than just, this is in the theater. We're putting on scenes to catch the person who murdered my wife, etc. My fiance, rather. Yep. It is what it is. That's a minor problem. That's a personal taste issue. Personally, it is. It's not that I don't like it. It's not that I'm against meta-theater. Again, it feels very self-serving, and I find it slightly distasteful. Anyway, the bigger issues. So one is that the first portion, the first maybe quarter of this play, is basically done through exposition. It's basically done in kind of flashbacks. And we get some elements that are performed by the various characters, but essentially this is Alex Dennison telling Sally Bean, his new secretary, who was not there a year before, here's what happened on the night that Monica died. And so it is very much a sort of, you had to be there, this is exposition type feel. Because it's partially performed, I think it's going to work okay in the performance itself. But having a narrated sort of flashback sequence it's very clumsy. It's not. It's much more effective if we can experience the events organically rather than having to be told them. Exposition is a generally boring technique compared to actually seeing something develop organically and naturally. So that's my first issue. My second issue is related to this. It is also about the use of exposition, but it's a more serious issue in terms of exposition, which is that at the end of the play, we get about 10 pages or so. In this edition, at least, we get about 10 pages where the answer is just given to us. So this is a murder mystery, right? That's what the point of it is. And as a viewer or reader of murder mysteries, part of the joy of this genre is trying to figure out who committed the crime. This is part of the reason why the nickname of the genre is the whodunit, right? The objective is for us as readers, viewers, whatever it is, to determine who is guilty, right? We should be able to figure out and make a reasonable guess at the person responsible for the crime. In this, you cannot. Spoiler alert, it was Frank. Frank did it. Up until the moment where it is revealed that Frank is is Alex Dennison's actual suspect, there is no possible way we could have reasonably figured out his guilt. We did not know that he had means, motive, or opportunity, which if you've ever seen a police procedural crime drama, those are three things that are crucial for being a suspect. We do not know that Frank knew Monica at all. We do not know he had any reason to potentially want her dead. We do not know he had the opportunity to be in her apartment on the night that she died. We don't even have any reason to suspect he might have means, motive, or opportunity. It is literally impossible to make an evidence-based guess that Frank is the murderer. The closest to... I'll give Brooke, and by extension Levinson and Link tiny bits of credit. There is one point where when Frank first comes in the guise of Inspector McElroy, Dennison is basically like, just hang out in the back till I need you. And then there is this one bit, which I actually kind of like. They're talking about the mystery as a genre. And Alex says, unusual form, you take the audience by the hand and lead them in the wrong direction. They trust you and you betray them, all in the name of surprise. Okay. I mean, you've told us that you're going to do this. That's fine. Brooke, and by extension Levinson and Link, you have told us that you are going to betray our trust. That is not good for murder mystery, though, right? If I, as the reader, viewer, whatever it is, cannot make a reasonable guess when I am trying to guess who is responsible, it is not fulfilling, right? The joy is figuring out whether or not you were right. But in order for that really to function, in order for that question of was or was I not right, there has to be a reasonable chance that you could spot the murderer. There has to be some basis for saying, yes, I guessed correctly. In this, there is no basis for guessing that it's Frank until the end, when it is revealed that he knew Monica, that he had reason to be in her apartment, that he killed her accidentally, etc., etc. From the first 85% of the play, you could never have guessed it. Never, ever, ever. And by the time you get to the point where you could guess it, you are getting exposition, again, just telling us, here is what happened. rather than giving us that crime discovered organically. Again, I'm going to play Ernie. I'm only in the very first little portions of it. I really like the part. I'm excited about it. But boy, howdy, do I think there are some structural problems with Rehearsal for Murder.